Hey, we just wrapped up show number 6 of our guide life. We are here at Trappers Landing Lodge, where we also just wrapped up Lund Ultimate Fishing Camp here at Trappers Bay. We had all kinds of pros from Lund here, lots of guests, great event. We had pros fishing the entire stretch of Leech Lake. And here is the report for Leech Lake currently. Right now we have water temps. We actually saw 70 degrees for the first time yesterday. Temps are still fluctuating with the cold and the rain. We have 66 to 70 degree temps. The mayfly hatch is definitely in full swing. Lots and lots and lots of bugs hatching. That should be wrapping up now. So currently, the walleye bite's a little bit tough. It's sporadic. The peak windows each day, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in that time seem to be the best bite in the mornings. And then, of course, you have your morning and evening bites. But here's what worked for everybody this week at the camp. First things first, we'll talk techniques, then we'll talk locations. Your standard bobber. This happens to be just a slip float, slip bobber, egg sinker, and this is gold. It's worked pretty good for us today, this Lindy live bait jig. Simple bobber setup with a leech or a night crawler. Other than that, a lot of people reported having luck using jigs and plastics and jigs and night crawlers and jigs and leeches, casting it out there, let it settle into the rock piles and around those areas. Jig and a night crawler, jig and a leech. This is a tungsten heavy metal jig. That worked really good. And when the fish are tricky and hard to bite, we had a lot of people utilizing artificial baits, again some plastics, but jig and rapalas. I know in our boat we caught quite a few fish on jig and rapalas. We had a lot of clients catch their first ever, a lot of guests catch their first ever fish on a jig and rap, and so that was fun, but this is a reaction bite, working it pretty quick, and the locations, really 14 to 22 feet of water. That's a pretty wide stretch, but the fish are chasing crayfish, the walleyes are chasing mayflies, and they're, of course, eating perch. So we have different bites in different locations. Starting up here in the northeast part of the lake, Portage Bay, we were right outside the Federal Dam, coming down the lake around 5 Mile, the sandgrass in between. A lot of fish, 14 feet of water, even shallower in the weeds, up in 8, 9, 10 feet of water. Bobbers, jig wraps work great there. Coming down, starting at 5 Mile, this whole deep water edge down towards Sugar. There's fish out there in 22 feet of water, close to the Paris Trench, 22 feet of water. Those are nice keepers, 14 to 17 inches out here. Jig wraps, Lindy rigs, spinners, bottom bouncers and spinners are working. Down around Submarine Island, the fish are moving out of the shallow rocks. You see them on the deep gravel sandgrass areas, those rock piles. And from Submarine South all the way down to home here at Trappers, all the little rock piles have smallmouth on them and walleyes on them. And they're up on top in 14 feet of water, and they're on the mud edges out in that 18 to 22, depending on the deep water around the area. But slip bobbers seem to work great. It's easy to use. You find those fish, use your technology, and that's the walleyes. Up here up in Sucker Bay. Sucker Bay, we have first duck, second duck. This deep edge out here, 22 feet of water, up to about 14. Walleyes out there, spinners, jig wraps. Walker Bay, we have up by Sand Point, a lot of keeper walleyes over here. And there's some deeper points coming down the lake. It's colder water here, a little bit deeper, 22 feet of water or so. Lindy rigs with leeches are still working. And that's pretty much the bite for walleyes. The smallies are on all the rock humps right now. They seem to be done, or at least close to done with their spawn. Maybe some of them are still on nests in the deeper spots, but all the humps down here in the south end, when we were looking around with our AquaView cameras, we were seeing walleyes and smallies on almost every single hump that topped out in 14 to 18 feet of water. So smallmouth fishing is going to get ready to be really, really good here the rest of the summer. And musky fishing, we had muskies caught this week during the fish camp. The muskies, they seem to be quite a few of them out deeper. Trollers are getting them. But while walleye fishing and smallmouth fishing, we're seeing them on the deeper rock piles, and we're certainly seeing them in the weeds, in the weedy areas, while bobber fishing with forward-facing sonar. So they're ready to go too. For those, we're using big rubber baits, bulldogs, Poseidons, tubes, those type of things for the smallmouth. Pike, any weedy bay where there's weeds, there's lots of small pike. They're fun to catch. We had a lot of people with success with that. Panfish are moving out a little bit deeper in those weeds. Bobber and a leech, or just a tube jig seem to work good for the plastic for the panfish as well. So the report on Leech Lake, it was a little bit slower because of all the food, the biomass in the lake right now with the mayflies hatching. But it's going to come to an end here now in the next couple of days, and the bite's going to get really, really good. Lots and lots of walleyes here on Leech Lake. So get out the boat, come up here, enjoy your time on Leech Lake.